Right, we are recording. I see the file there. Continuing this, nearly at the end. And we are now to Catch and Kill, which is from, looks like Rippazine number 4, because we got collector's edition cover that features the two main characters of Catch and Kill. Winslow, I think it is. Valiant. Hang on. I'm pretty sure it's Winslow. Yes, Winslow. And Betty, now I'm trying to remember what her last name is. I was putting them down in the notes as just Valiant and Betty. It's also with a B. Brooke. Okay, Betty Brooke. But we start off, by the way, there is no introduction, there is no letter, it's just Catch and Kill. Jen Silvisaska writers, artist Sebastian Garcia, colorist Joe Canola, letterer Invisible Art Studio. That's all we got, and it's just there on the first page, so I'm good with that. I see. Having the title page kind of stuff is fine. I mean, like, here's for Alpha Core, the one that's after it. I'm good with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But doing it this way works for me too. So, yeah, we're just introduced straight away. There's actually his full name, to Winslow Valiant right away, where he's driving his car on a very dilapidated street. And we're told there, investigative reporter, but it's also we're seeing how he works, which is he goes where the people probably don't really want to go, I think is one way to put it. And in this case, that means he goes and he talks to specifically homeless veterans. I mean, potentially might be all homeless, but it seems that he has a specific connection to the veterans themselves. And it's like, he's bringing food and water to them, and they provide information. In this case, it's information about how one of them has gone missing, taken by a Valor outreach to this Aztec company that is a pharmaceutical company, but there's more going on here because it's a high security for a pharmaceutical company, heavy firepower, overkill, I won't be going in the front. So he's got to figure out some other way in. And it does also mention that, like, all I need is one glance, just one look, and I have the whole place committed to memory. And a little later, it can be hard to tell. Yeah, no. It's so he has. There's a lot of writing in this. I'm okay with that. Let me be clear. I'm perfectly okay with that. His inner monologues tend to have like a teal background. Her inner monologues are more a straight blue, or at least close to that. But because they're both blues, it can be a little tricky, I feel, to, like, you flip a page and if you're not necessarily seeing the contrast there and you keep going, it might be easy to forget who it is that we're reading there. She typically wears a blue dress, so it makes sense for it to be blue for her. I feel like he has green eyes or something, so it's like maybe make his background green. I think that would have been better. Anyway, so he wants to get to the bottom of this, but he goes into work, actually arrives late, which they do. Co-workers chew him out some, and because he's late, but it's one of those. He's probably something of a Kolchak, except a little bit less. It's all just crazy stuff he does. Hey, Kolchak's a good show. Don't get me wrong. I've never seen the original though. I will admit that. But anyway, he comes in. It mentions being like an hour late, and they are ribbing him for that because, like, hey, we actually have to work. What are you doing? But he is working. He's just working differently. But still, no one really likes him for that. And he's been called into the boss's office. He was supposed to be there an hour ago because, well, he's Betty is being assigned to him. But we haven't. Sorry, my brain is turning off a little bit. Haven't gotten that explanation yet. And one thing I do want to mention first is the editor-in-chief is Gang G Gao. It's like, wait a minute, that's a familiar name. Let me go back and look. The head of the wrestling organization from The Underdog, which, by the way, was also written by the Saska sisters, was Genghis G. Gao. I would not be surprised if this is the same person based on the name. However, visually, this man does look to be quite different. And here, let me go back and look, because I think in the Underdog, he looked more like, yeah, he like actually has some facial, he has some facial cues that are more Oriental, but this Gang Ji Gao looks, or Zhao, looks far more just like a normal American, like, so of European descent. So definitely mixing there for your average American. At least you can have that there, but no, so it doesn't seem to be the same person, but that similarity in name, that there's almost certainly some sort of relation. Anyway. So, Editor-in-Chief here is ticked with Valiant, which, I mean, seems like it's just Valiant's one of those people that, yeah, people around me are ticked by me, is what it is. But he's introduced to Betty Brooke here, who's a photojournalist, and the Editor-in-Chief is even like, look, I've been sending you emails for weeks that she's coming here, and she's going to be assigned to you. And she is quite good, it looks like, although it does seem odd. It's like, why is she in a place like this if she's so good? But we do get a little bit of an explanation a little later, because there's one photograph that she took that people said was fake, so they started calling her fake, so maybe that's why, like, her reputation may have been sufficiently damaged that it's gonna be stuck, that she would be stuck in a place like this. But there's also an element, and this I do feel is worth talking about, is that they both seem to have a quality. It is different between them, but both seem to have the same quality of they want to see the things that most people do not see, or people are told not to see. So, for example, the photographs that she has and is showing is from what's called the Wasteland, the dead zone to the north, the Wastelands. I spotted the speech bubble here. I thought access was forbidden to the press. It is, but she got in there anyway. And so, it's just, she's going places she's not supposed to go. He's talking to people that most would rather just forget exist, potentially. So, yes, they definitely are like that. Or they go together well. Plus, there's also, and just, yeah, before I see her face, she's already taken my breath away. These photographs are incredible. She took these, but then I prefer to work alone. But for Betty, I can make an exception. So it's like he just sees it and is like, yep, well, anything she wants. And I mean, can't blame him. I mean, she is drawn to be quite attractive, and there is also the element of these two are already clicking. Okay, they already have a similar mindset for their work. So yeah, it makes sense that these two are going to get along very well, and he would be anything you want. When going down in an elevator, she shows him one more photo, and she'd also said, by the way, that I've read your work, I want to work with you. And this is when we finally see that photo that I mentioned, the one that people accused her of faking, so calling her a fake and all that. But I suspect that this is also part of the reason why she, well, no, even to say that, that's why she wants to work with him. You don't have to be partnered with a black sheep like me, but pulls out the photo. This is what I went to the Wastelands for, to prove its existence. I found it there among the dead. Chadran. But the photo was dubbed a fake, and so was I. So that's the monster that back in ISOM 2 killed the girl that ISOM couldn't, he couldn't protect her, he couldn't save her. That led to him giving up. So there is an element then of, I don't know where this is in the timeline, because Chadran, well, ISOM 2, that event took place years prior. I think it's the end of, it was the end of ISOM 3. Let me actually try to flip back and see if I can find it. Showed him, Chadram, in like a rainforest kind of place. And ISOM 2 was a ways back. Sorry, ISOM 3. think I found it. Because I feel like it may have also... Okay. Okay, nope, there's nothing specific. But it's still, well, there's a toucan flying there. That is a South American bird. So, yeah, I'm guessing that's where he is. So why is he now in the north? So I got no idea on that. So anyway, they go out, and I think I had mentioned, maybe I didn't, a vet is missing. That's one thing that he learned towards the start of the story, that one of the vets is missing, and is one of those, not just missing, but was taken by Valor Outreach, Aztec, all that. So now he goes to the crime scene because he's been found by the police. Unfortunately, he wasn't in good state, apparently, and they had to open fire on him, and he tells me he and two other officers emptied their guns into him before he went down. So, yeah, they found him, but something was off, something was wrong. Says, Red was one of those except he went crazy downtown, attacking anything that moved. I knew him. He was a lot of things, but he wasn't one of us. I would have known, I would have seen something. So at this point, it's okay. Apparently, Valiant is also an accept. And the fact that I would have seen something, the way that's written, and the fact earlier is, if I see it, I'll just know. It's like, okay, he's not necessarily got a photographic memory. It might be something else that is his ability. Just the emphasis on, I would have seen something there. Although it isn't written like with anything bolded in that, it's just his vision, how it was emphasized earlier, that all I need to do is see it once and I'll know it. So that's, yeah. I'm taking this to mean that, yes, that is tied to his ability, but no indication that anyone is aware he's an accept. This, in fact, is the only comment that does indicate he's an accept. Alright, he's got friends in various places, and Betty makes friends easy too, and so is actually able to get into the morgue to look at Big Red's corpse, which does have 45 rounds in it, which that would be 15 rounds per gun. That adds up, but that means no misses, which, look, pistols are not that accurate, okay? Part of the reason you aim center of mass is because you've got the most distance that it can deviate and you still hit. But it's still, that still seems a little impressive that all 45, because also if you're firing that fast, I would think, the shots are starting to go over just because, the kickback from the gun. So anyway, but it does confirm, yes, he had to be shot that many times. But we also have his Irish green eyes are gone, and so is the sparkle. Something evil took up residence. It looks like what we're seeing for the eyes is very dark with some color around the outside. It almost looks like the iris has been completely blown out, but that the eye color is now brown instead of green. We also have track marks. Red battled the demon in the bottle, but was no junkie. Whatever they shot him up with did this to him. And also, I just want to quickly check something, because I think... Okay, yeah. From this point on, all of the inner monologue stuff, until we get to the very last page, is now Betty's inner monologue. Which is important because there is stuff that she knows that she has a secret she doesn't want out. Aztec creates injections that can alter your genetic makeup. I know this because I have been taking them since the incident in the wasteland. Okay, so something happened there. Sorry, the accident in the wasteland. So something happened there, and she is also now an accept of some kind. We don't yet know. I think it comes... Yeah, it's over here. So she is always wearing gloves, and her dress is... Don't get me wrong, it's an attractive dress, but it does completely cover her. So it's really just like neck up that is exposed. My touch could kill him. The gloves keep the rest of the world safe from me. I avoid contact to minimize risk, but if I don't give him my hand, it would be even more suspicious because he's, offering his hand to take hers to, because they managed to get a gender's ID so that they can enter into Aztec and just dress up as genders. So he's just going to lead her in there. They're in there, cleaning some stuff up. When two figures arrive on the elevator, just the way they're drawn, it seems to change every book, which is a little annoying. But it's Michael and Lillian, who we first saw in ISOM 1. We saw again in Horsemen Welcome to Flores Park. Don't remember if we've seen them any other time. And now we're actually getting a better sense of what it is they're doing because of what they're talking about here. But we still don't really know what their abilities are, at least from this. And there's also an element of... I understand their motivations as presented here. It doesn't quite align with what we've seen previously. But it's basically... at least Lillian really wants her own Brian Solari. Meaning she wants, because they own Aztec, they want to come up with a treatment that would produce another superhero, or at least superpowered individual like Brian Solari. Because, we saw him back in Great War of Separation, being treated, and Great War of Separation 2, I think it was, being treated, and from that, gaining initially super strength, then at some point it became flight. Still don't know when, but Alpha Course Next, maybe we'll find out there. But she wants that. She wants to be able to do that, and so they're experimenting on people to achieve that. But they haven't had any success yet. Which it is... It's also kind of silly, though, because the point was even made back in Great War Separation that what abilities manifest from that treatment depends on the person. So you could still find the exact way to do it, but that doesn't mean you'll get those same powers, or doesn't mean you'll get comparable powers either in what they are or in their intensity, I guess is the way to put it. So while she's just prattling off as though no one's around, Michael does seem to be aware of Valiant and Betty, and he actually does look at them and activate his thing, which has his eyes glowing green and wisps coming off, which still kind of unclear exactly what that is, but in previous stories it seemed to be that lets him learn about what he's looking at. So this explains why they get on the elevator going down, but then Valiant realizes we're not stopping at the lobby. Nope. They are being taken down to the sub-basement, where they find Mickey, another one of the vets, the one who, in fact, told Valiant that that Big Red was missing, and this is all a trap. It is to, he's getting his treatment and is subsequently turning into a monster because he will lose control and end up killing them. That's the plan. Betty takes a picture as he is screaming in pain and transforming, so good photojournalist. And naturally, Valiant, seeing the monster in front of him, Betty, get out of here. Winslow moves his body in front of what used to be Mickey. He'll tell me later that this was a contact of his on the streets. This man was a friend. Everything moves in slow motion. I move before thinking. I couldn't let him kill Winslow. God forgive me for what I must do. Because Betty has taken off her gloves and grabs Mickey's hand. Because however her ability works, it kills with touch, and so she kills Mickey. Which, to be fair, the kind of monster he's looking... Yeah, it sucks. The whole... Her crying after this is no, that's fair, but at the same time, it's you saved your life, you saved Winslow's life. And the kind of pain Mickey was likely in just then, you're good. You did the right thing. It then cuts, in my opinion, unfortunately, I'll get to that, to them being in Zhao's office, and the photos have been handed over, and it's we got the story, but unfortunately it'll never be printed because it's just going to be bought by a different newspaper, one that is also owned by Michael and Lillian. So yeah, it's just going to be suppressed. Hence the title Catch and Kill. Because that is how some of this works. And it is real. It is a real thing. Where people will have connections, suitable connections to newspapers and magazines and such. And if a certain story comes in, they buy it. So instead of it being well, you don't know if it'll succeed if, you print it or not, just buy it and then never let it be printed. They catch it and kill it. Not necessarily great ethics, but then I also wouldn't be surprised if in some cases there would also be unscrupulous newspaper people that would just, blackmail. So at least in theory with Catch and Kill, it's the person that would be embarrassed buying it intentionally instead of being threatened with exposure. So I ended up giving this a weak recommendation because I do genuinely like it. Did find it entertaining, and I am interested. I am curious. And I do like the fact that I actually know what their motivations are. I actually understand, at least to that degree, Valiant and Betty. So I like that. I'm good with that. A reason why I have to bump it down, though, is we went from Betty just killed Mickey. It was a good kill, right? No question there. But we don't get any of the conversation with Valiant from this. It's just she's standing there, the monster's dead in front of her. I want to know what his reaction was. Because shock should be there, but it's also, in theory, he's an accept as well, based on what was said earlier. So it's like, okay, what happened? I need you to tell me what happened. It's just, when I touch somebody, they die. That sucks. So many levels that sucks. Okay, can you put the gloves back on then? Thank you. This is fine. It sucks that he died. Really did, but I mean, you need to. It's all good. And trust me, he wouldn't want to be that kind of monster. You're okay. Okay? But we need to get out of here. Also, by the way, I'm an accept too. Okay? So this is not going to freak me out as much as it could otherwise. You're good. Just calm down. It's okay. Just something there. And part of the reason it's like that, it's like, we gotta go. Gotta go, woman. But it's just, I want that there. I want that there because, as I said, part of what I like about this is that I understand their motivation. So it makes it easier for me to connect with these characters. Some of these stories, I don't remember which ones specifically, I felt no sense connection to them. I had no idea what their motivation was. I had no reason to care about them. Hang on, as I'm thinking about it now, and it helps that I flip back. See, that's even it. I can remember the underdog. I can remember Isom. I can't remember some of the others because it's like it didn't connect with me. And it's the I want to try to do it just by memory. It's the one with the dude who's investigating he's on the legal team that reviews cases. What one was it? What one was that? It was a Saints and Sinners story. But it was I had no sense of what the motivation was for the main character. I'm trying to see if I can remember the name, but I nope. Yes, the weight of restraint. That's it. That doesn't really connect to the sense of the story. It seemed like that was more connecting to the character that was basically on just 2 pages and is who the guy was investigating. But it's like, think about how much time I could start picturing it, but legitimately some of that was just because as I was flipping through, like go back to see ISOM 3 there, to see, okay, where's Chadron? I was seeing that there. If not for that, I'm not sure I would have even remembered because I felt no connection to anyone in that. This I feel connection to. But the lack of seeing how he reacts and how she reacts as well to what has just happened there, it robs me of so much and robs them because this is significant. Okay, what just happened is very significant for what their relationship is and can be. And just seeing that, and just even if it were a few moments later, like they're in the car getting away, even just him asking the question again. It's like, any touch. Like, there's... It's not just your hands, it's any part of you. Like, if I kiss you, I'll die. Yes, it's like, even something like that. Just where he's, like, testing, okay, what are the bounds here? What are the limits here? Because, I mean, he wants to. Yeah. And it's just like, and not possible at all? Nothing? No, nothing. It's like, any ideas for cures or anything like that? No. I'm actually on a drug for it already to keep this much stable. It's like, okay. I mean, it's like, you could do something to let us see what that is. Instead, no, they're just standing in the office. So apparently, whatever it was, they're reconciled, at least enough to continue working together. But I do also feel that for something like this, he's almost certainly keeping her secret. Because you're probably not putting in that story. Yeah, she killed him with a touch. That would be a bit extreme to have as public knowledge. But it's like, okay, but why? I can understand him doing that just as far as a chivalrous kind of action. Okay, I can understand that. I can understand that. But he knows her. He likes her. They're going to continue to know each other and work with each other. I think we deserve that scene. I do think we deserve that scene. And the lack of it, yeah, that bumps it down for me to a weak recommendation. Because it is too essential. Let me put it another way. If they do another story with these two, I don't think that it would be possible for them. I don't even know if you could go more than a page or two before you were giving us a flashback of that scene. Okay, that's how important it will be to those two characters. So why is it not here? I don't know. And I do think that weakens it, because I feel the connection to them, because I understand the motivations, but I want to know how these two relate. And they don't need to be completely reconciled. It can be that this is still something that is a source of tension, a source of stress between them. So it's not like, oh, well, we have to put it off because we can't have it resolved right now. It's like, who says it has to be resolved? And address it. Resolution can still take a while. So it's like, give it to me. And as far as the whole, like, oh, they didn't have time for it, you find a way to make the time. Or even have it be, I mean, this is potentially older than the Saints and Sinners stuff, but it's like, why did Mahler get an extra page? Because they decided his story needed it, that they couldn't cut it down anymore. It's like, why couldn't you make that decision here as well? I mean, it's... Yeah. So, anyway. But it is... I was considering a little bit, should this actually be a positively flavored failure to recommend? No, absolutely not. Because their motivations. I feel the connection to the motivations to these characters. And just to clarify in that, because sometimes that connection doesn't mean I personally identify with it. It's to say I understand this. Okay, so it's like I can see how your mind is working. I can have a sense of how you're wired. So it makes me more interested to see if that model in my mind is accurate for what I'm seeing here. So will they, like, I don't know how Valiant would react to this. But my guess is because Betty is crying over this, which it might be for multiple reasons. She just killed this man. She's also saying, I'm sorry, Winslow. I'm sorry, Winslow. Again, I think it might be, I'm sorry, Winslow. I'm so sorry, Winslow. Yeah, I'm sorry, Winslow. I'm so sorry. Sorry. I thought there were two Winslows in there. It's like she is, deeply sorry there. And it's like, okay, well, how's he going to react to that? Because something like that in this situation, he's probably going to first try to comfort her, because that's just what a man would do in that. But then it might kick into, like, we need to get out of here. And I'm not entirely sure how he might comfort her. I mean, I could see, like, coming up and, like, grabbing her arms gently, but, like, grabbing and just being like, I'm here, it's okay. Which she may recoil from because of the whole, she can't be in contact with him, at least not skin to skin. Because that would kill him. And, maybe she recoils some from that, and he's like, It's okay. We need to go. We can talk later. And then they talk. And she explains this, and he can say what his thing is, whatever his acceptability. Something like that. That would make sense, but I don't know. They're not my characters. It's just, that's one way that the model that I have them go. Because I have that connection. I understand the motivation here. They are kind of a story to each other as well. Because it's not, they want stories. They want the truth found that other people don't necessarily want to find, or don't want to acknowledge, don't want to see that. They have that for each other. So it's like, this could be a very interesting and worthwhile scene, and we don't get it. So yeah, that does annoy me. All right, and for that, if it were there, that would make me think better of it. But it is because of that motivation. No, I can recommend the story. I did enjoy it. I feel the connection. So yeah, but unfortunately, I suspect that they I will not see any more of them, because we have Alpha Core and Bloodruth next. I doubt they would interact with either of them. And also, I think Alpha Core is old enough that, and this is, because it looked like it's in Rippazine number 4, so these characters were probably created well after Alpha Core. Bloodruth, maybe, I don't know, it seemed kind of unlikely to me. And then there's Dirty Deeds at the end, that when I was flipping through a little bit at the end of the it looked like that's on an alien world, which these two are humans. There's no reason for them to be off-world. So yeah, I have a feeling I'm not going to see them again, which, I mean, is what it is. Is what it is. All right. See you next time for Alpha Core. Which, I've said it before. I'll say it again right now. Because the next, when I do I've already read Alpha Core by the time I'll do the next video, which will be with it. I am hoping that questions get answered with it. I don't know, but it is just certain events and characters in Alpha Core definitely have been present throughout. Like, Alpha Core themselves have been present in multiple of the stories. In Chasing Ghosts, Eagle's Nest had crashed on the ground. But in Horseman Welcome to Flores Park, it was in the air again. So, okay, that might be telling me about the timeline there. That takes place before it. But, and I did quickly, previously when I was flipping it through Alpha Core, well, flipping at the end of Alpha Core, I did see that, hey, it's crashed on the ground. Because why are we seeing in Chasing Ghosts, Saints and Sinners, so much before Alpha Core is in this, that, oh, it's already revealed, it's crashed to the ground. It's like, that's a big thing. That's kind of a spoiler. Nope. So, yeah, there's that. So much stuff I want to know about Solari, since he was first introduced to me back with Great War of Separation 1 and 2. So it's just, yeah, I'm just hoping for clarity there. But let me also say this. Despite it saying at the introductory letter for the whole thing about this trying to be in order that, how is it actually written? Come on. A comprehensive timeline. Because we value canon and continuity, it's essential that you're able to follow the timeline as these characters grow. This will especially be helpful for those of you who become customers years after our founding. Promise to keep reboots to a minimum if there's blah blah blah. But it's just a comprehensive timeline. But you have things being spoiled for Alpha Core well before Alpha Core is in the book. Maybe once I read Alpha Core, it'll make sense. But there is definitely that part of me with looking at, with how I've been going through this, just read them start to end. I'm not impressed by the order that they decided on here. And I can understand maybe the whole, hey, we need Saints and Sinners to not be broken up. It's like, I don't care. I'm sorry. If Underdog was set prior to ISOM, Chasing Ghosts set after Alpha Core. But ISOM 1 is the first story. Alpha Core, I would assume, is set after. Horseman seems to be set prior to Alpha Core. I mean, it's just break it up. Put it in a coherent timeline. it doesn't seem to be there at the moment, and that yeah, it just is frustrating. But I don't know what all I can really say, because as in theory, AlphaCore is going to be answering questions. In theory, it might not. Find out next time. If it doesn't, though, I will be disappointed. I really will be, because you have the opportunity. This could have been a short video, but I'm sorry. You had the opportunity, because these stories were not written linearly. You had the opportunity to put them into something linear. And from what I have seen, from what I've experienced thus far, they're not. And I don't know why. Because I feel like, especially for somebody new like me, that's what's going to make sense. Because, I mean, I don't know the order that these things released, aside from ISOM 1 was first, ISOM 2 was second, as I recall. After that, I don't know. You know, everything else would just be, well, yeah, Yaira 1 came out before Yaira 2. When was anything else relative to either of those? No clue. So, and also I do know that Saints and Sinners was released relatively late, because shortly after that was announced, so was this. So, that's it. So having a confusing timeline in here, it's a problem. And maybe AlphaCore will clear up that confusion. It also might not. I will also mention this, because technically, I've talked previously and written previously about how a bad book can't turn good. And I'm not saying that this is bad. It's just that that's the principle that I've talked about previously. That if something is bad such that you lose a person, like they decide to stop reading, or I developed this first when I was playing and reviewing video games, that if you lose them, it doesn't matter how good something becomes after that point. It's irrelevant. Because once a person leaves, they're gone. It's bad. You've failed. Right? There is no, oh, but it gets really good at this point on. It's like, they're gone. What? And it's not just, like, for me, it's not just a, I'm gone, it's not just I've given up on this. It's a I've given up on this and moved on to something else. So to bring me back, you now need me to prioritize whatever the thing is that I did not enjoy. You need me to prioritize that over whatever I'm doing that I might actually be enjoying. That's a loss. That's failure. A confusing timeline is like that, because it is a knock against it. It's like, why should I keep reading when it's like, I don't understand. If it's like, I don't understand what's going on here. Events are being mentioned that have not happened yet and seem really significant, but no idea about them unless I flip ahead, which I'm okay with doing that. Not everyone is. Some people are definitely nope, I can't look ahead. I need to just go through it and experience it the way it's supposed to be experienced. But if the way you're supposed to experience it is a confused timeline, that's not healthy. So, hopefully questions will be answered, but it's also one of those, I can understand if somebody were going through this and being like, I don't understand what's going on, and giving up. And what can somebody say? What can somebody say to them? I mean, aside from something like, okay, well, yeah, so you're confused, that's fine. Here, go read AlphaCore and then come back. Okay, and then things will make sense. Because, like, AlphaCore seems to be one that's a lot of things run through that. It's like, okay, that's fine, but then the question becomes, they put this in the order they felt was comprehensive. If you need somebody else to then tell you, no, read it in this order, that's not so comprehensive. This is not well put together in that situation. Then, so yeah. I'm just thinking, silly idea. But because, as much as it sounds like I'm speaking poorly of this book, and I guess I am, there's actually a second chance to purchase one of these. They're doing another printing, and you can go to the Rippaverse and order it until June 6th, I believe is the cutoff date. I'm kind of tempted to email them, because I'd already emailed them about the swap page in the swap pages in the Yaira 3. And they said that if they do another printing, they likely will they will make sure that's fixed. It's like, I got that response on Monday. I'm not sure when the news was that they're doing the second offering, but it's like it days later. Maybe I will contact them again, just ask the question in the same ticket. Not just that, but also, okay, aside from this, will there be any other changes? Things such as the order being changed, a table of contents being added. I'm sorry, I do believe part of the review, I will be talking about how this is my first exposure as far as the actual literature of the Rippaverse. And I intentionally bought it to be that first exposure. But things like the lack of table of contents, the lack of page numbers, the lack of even page titles, like a headers, just letting me know when I just flip this open, what book am I in? What story am I in? All that's absent. All those are things that are helpful to somebody that doesn't already know these stories. That it has been formatted, it has, the collection here feels so often to me as though it is meant for somebody that, like, they're putting it on the shelf next to every book that's already in this, every comic book that's already in this. That it's almost like it's meant for memorabilia, not to actually be read. And that's horrible. Yeah. And I will definitely be criticizing it heavily in the review for that. And that's something that doesn't matter, the situation, the questions being answered or not with Alpha Core. Lack of table contents, lack of header, lack of page numbers, that's all true, regardless of any of the content of the stories. So I am curious, though. Maybe I will try asking, are there other changes like that? Is this a true second edition, basically, or is it just you're fixing things, like the swap pages, which... Yeah, because it's... I know I should stop, but I'll still finish this point. One of the things, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, one of the things that when I was doing video game quality assurance work, that I definitely kept in mind plenty of time, a lot of the time, and I would voice. Because it's something that we were some of the most experienced people in the game, in the world. And there was some of us, some on that team, that were legitimately in the highest tier of players. That means we have the most experience. We're the best at the game. Or at least we have the best in the game working with us. You can't balance around us. You can't trust our opinions necessarily on various things. Because we're too experienced, we're too close to it. I feel like that's how the Omnibus has been put together thus far. That this is written by people too close to it, that they don't realize that obvious things like a table of contents. It's also, table of contents would be so cool because not only could it tell you where, but you could put things in like when it was released, the release date. So then you're also seeing, oh, this was the order they were written in, which can help explain continuity issues. Like any minor retcons. It's like, well, yeah, because that was written years later. I'm saying, so it makes so much sense for it to be there, and I get it's already thick, but it still is. This would help. It's like we're talking like 1 or 2 more pages. Come on. So yeah, it just. I am genuinely curious. I think I will try to reach out and ask the question. Because, I mean, it's a worthy question. It legitimately is. Because I know for me, that's significant criticism for this book. And it'll definitely be making into the review. So, asking the question. Because it would be great if I then heard back and be like, oh yeah, we're making those changes as well. We've heard those criticisms from other people. It's like, yes, good. Or I won't hear anything back, or they won't be able to do it. Because they might... Hey, it's fair to say, no, it's not a new edition. We're not making changes like that. We're doing corrections, but that's all. I can understand that, but anyway. Now, how about I actually shut up, stop the recording, get it processed, and get it uploaded. See you next time.